And tonight I want to talk to you about pro basketball player Jason Collins, who came out as being gay this week. And in the Sports Illustrated piece, he said the following: "I'm a 34-year-old NBA center. I'm a black and I am gay." I said I'm a black. I mean, I am black and I am a gay. And I am gay. I keep putting the A there. I don't know what's going on in America. I keep putting the preposition there. Maybe it's because I'm a little under the weather in tonight's show. But either way, now I got to tell you, folks, I'm one of those people where, and I don't want to sit here, and I don't want to sit here and you know, sort of play this game. Like, I think this is a great thing, and I think what we should be doing, while I think it's great to parade, and you know, not only parade, but be very, I think everybody should be very proud of Mr. Collins for a couple of reasons. And I'm going to get to what I was trying to get to before in just a second, but what he has done is he's made it a lot easier for young people, younger people, to embrace their own truth and live in their own truth. And I think especially in the African American community, where homophobia runs rampant, to the point, to the nth degree, and the homophobia that in the black community. Now, I'm not afraid to say it. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think the homophobia in the African American community it's very, very highly influenced and connected to the power of the African American church. I'm not saying to somebody who doesn't go to an African American church, because I do, but I think the African American church influences homophobia, and that homophobia it creates hatred, and that hatred creates, you know, this whole ideal of, I'm not going to tell my truth, or I'm not going to live in my truth. That secrecy creates what you call, quote unquote, men on the down low, and that men on the down low and all that other stuff people would argue is the reason why the HIV/AIDS rate in the African American community is higher than any other community. Now, I mean, I guess there might be some sort of caveat to my logic here, but homophobia is rampant in the African American community, which is the point I was trying to get at before I made the point I just made. Was, you know, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat how I feel about people like ESPN writer Chris Bouchard, who went out and said, you know, he's walking in open rebellion to God and to Jesus Christ. And, you know, he was one of the first people to come out with this hate speech and this condemnation for Mr. Collins' decision to come out and say that he's a gay African American man. Now, before I get on Chris, because I am going to get on Chris in a second, I want to address his argument before I address him as a person. He's walking in open rebellion to Jesus Christ, is what he said. First of all, whether he's walking in open rebellion to Jesus Christ or not walking in open rebellion to Jesus Christ, that's none of your damn business, number one. Number two, to this whole argument of walking in open rebellion, and I think even if you're listening to this show and you are a devout Christian and you believe the Bible in its entirety, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, right? The Bible is pretty clear. A sin is a sin is a sin is a sin is a sin. All sins are equal. So Chris Bouchard going out there and you know, speaking hate to this person, and you know, speaking against this person and coming out with hatred and hypocrisy against him is just as much of a sin, as Chris Bouchard explains it, as Mr. Collins coming out and saying that I'm an African American gay man. Number two, the Bible's also pretty clear about condemning somebody else. If you really listen and read the words of the Lord pretty clearly, the Lord didn't spend very much time criticizing those that were outside of religion. He spent more time criticizing those who were the religious scholars of the day, the Pharisees. Read the Bible carefully. Read the writing in red, America. He spends more time talking about what the Pharisees did wrong and how the Pharisees were horrible, how the Pharisees were corrupt. He spent less time sort of condemning the woman at the well, or condemning Mary Magdalene, or condemning the tax collectors. You see where I'm going with this? These individuals profess to be, you know, these Christians. Look at me, I believe in Jesus. Or look at me, I'm the best Christian in the world. They are some of the people that aren't truly really living how God wants them to live. Right? Because God says, love thy neighbor as thyself, whether they're gay, straight, or indifferent. And just for the record, if you were my neighbor and I would love you as myself, I would never want to condemn you. I would never want to say you're walking in open rebellion. Who would do that? Beyond that fact, I don't understand why Chris Bouchard came out in the first place. Why is he even relevant to this conversation? 1, he's not relevant. 2, he's irrelevant. 3, beyond that fact, why? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out in your mind what would possess you to go out and say these things right after he comes out. Like, seriously? Go take that back to 1922, or take that back to years prior where there was more hatred going against African Americans or other races. Like, I mean, I think this is the same argument here. And I really feel as though that Jason Collins deserves all of our support, and people like Chris Bouchard should be fired. ESPN should fire him immediately.